I last visited Birmingham in August to see how construction of the new station was progressing and hoped to release a video shortly after. However, I had hoped that the first concrete pour for Curzon Street No. 3 viaduct would have taken place by now, the formwork for which has been taking shape since spring. The first concrete pour, when it happens, will be a key milestone for the Curzon Street project, and we'll see the first section of the approach into Curzon Street finally taking shape. Once the concrete is poured and then cured, the formwork will be removed, leaving behind a steel reinforced bridge section that will eventually carry trains into the new station. Throughout my time covering HS2, there's been a lot of talk of prefabrication, with bridge sections for the likes of the Colne Valley Viaduct assembled off-site, before being transported to where they are needed to then be joined to the previously erected sections. Curzon Street No. 3 viaduct is different however, as it is being constructed in situ, with large individual sections being constructed in one go. The reason for this is due to the width and shape of the viaduct, which begins to fan out from 2 tracks approaching Birmingham from the east to the 7 tracks that will be within the station. From this shot, it is actually possible to see formwork for 3 separate sections of the viaduct being erected, with the formwork on the left the most advanced and almost ready to have concrete poured into it, while scaffolding was still being erected to support formwork on the rightmost section. From this angle, you also get a sense of how wide the station will be and how the bridge sections will fan out to reach all of the 7 platforms within the station. Now that the piers for the western section of the viaduct have been installed, work can shift to preparing to build the piers that will support the station itself. Unfortunately, that does mean that New Canal Street is now closed to pedestrians, which was a good location to see how the project was progressing. HS2, however, has now taken full possession of the road, which was a handy cut through to get to Digbeth. But as the station would rise above New Canal Street, it does mean that it wouldn't be practical to maintain it as a right of way for the public during the construction works. The site of the main concourse was still largely empty when I visited in August, with the site clearance work already completed by the start of this year. I assume most of the western section will remain largely empty until construction of the piers that will support the station are complete. As the tram extension to Digbeth will travel down New Canal Street, then any work on this section of the tram line will have to wait at least until the section of the deck for the station is constructed, which unfortunately means the extension won't open until 2027, despite the progress that has already been made in Birmingham and in Digbeth to construct the new tram line. Work to restore the existing 1830s building started towards the end of 2021 and was expected to take around a year to complete, with work being carried out to repair some of the exterior stonework as well as remediation work to repair structural damage that was caused during the Blitz. The damage had previously been repaired, but those repairs were rather crude by today's standards. The work was supposed to include the installation of a new steel structural frame to help support the building, a new lift to provide access to all 4 levels, and a new glass balustrade for the existing staircase. However, work on the building ceased in spring 2022 when funds for the restoration ran out, before the project could be fully completed. When I asked HS2 for an update regarding the work on the existing building, a spokesperson said, HS2 Limited continues to work closely with Birmingham City Council and other stakeholder partners to identify funding to complete the project. But it seems that no other funding source has yet been found, and that for the time being, that restoration is on hold. It was hoped that the restored structure could be put to use and incorporated into the wider public realm improvements that will be carried out as part of the project. I just hope that the restoration isn't limited to the external masonry, as the building will only have a long-term future if a use can be found for it. In previous videos I've talked about how the entrance to Curzon Street will only be a short 6-minute walk to Birmingham New Street Station, or a short tram ride if passengers are less mobile or for people who are carrying cases. I have also mentioned how the western entrance will be adjacent to Moore Street Station, but what I never got round to explaining was the plans to improve connectivity at Moore Street, which could make the station more convenient for onward travel for many passengers than New Street. Moore Street already provides onward travel to Redditch, Kidderminster, Worcester and Hereford to the west, and Solihull and Stratford upon Avon to the south. But the Midlands Rail Hub could see an enlarged Moore Street station, providing access to Kings Norton via the Camp Hill line, with potential for services to head to the southwest and to Wales. However, this could only be achieved if a new western chord was constructed at Bordsley from the Chiltern Main Line onto the Camp Hill line. Clearly, New Street Station will still be an important interchange, and I strongly believe that the pedestrian connection should be improved. But as far as onward travel from Curzon Street goes, New Street Station may not be as important as opponents of HS2 often like to make out. It seems that HS2 has yet again been hit with more controversy, and now these sections of Manchester is in doubt. As you can imagine, I have strong views on any suggestion that Phase 2B could be cancelled, but that's perhaps for another video. As I said in my last Curzon Street video, the controversy surrounding Euston and now Manchester will not impact the opening of Curzon Street Station. But it would be absolutely nonsensical if HS2 were only to be constructed between Curzon Street and Old Oak Common, which would mean the huge new station in Birmingham only being served by 3 trains per hour, instead of 5 if the line were built in Manchester, and 6 if a northern link akin to Goldburn were constructed, or even 8 or 9 trains per hour if HS2 were constructed to the east. Although the number of trains into Curzon Street is not the only justification for building HS2 in full, I'm sure most people would agree that building a huge 400 metre long 7 platform station that would only be served by 3 trains per hour would be a monumental waste.